The champagne tasted like lies. I stood at the edge of the rooftop terrace, watching Chicago's skyline glitter with 1,000 promises it wouldn't keep. Below, the city resounded with anticipation. Strangers counting down to midnight, convinced that changing a calendar page could somehow transform their lives. I knew better. I'd learned that lesson the hard way, in a cramped studio apartment with an eviction notice and a nursing degree that hadn't saved my mother from cancer, or me from drowning in her medical debt. Irene, you're brooding again. My best friend Cassie appeared at my elbow, her sequined dress catching the string lights someone had threaded through the terrace railings. It's New Year's Eve. You're supposed to be mingling with Chicago's elite, not contemplating jumping. I'm working, not mingling. I adjusted the empty tray balanced against my hip, hyper-aware of the black server's uniform that marked me as help, not a guest. And I'm not brooding. I'm calculating how many champagne refills it'll take before someone tips more than $3. Cassie had gotten me this catering gig through her cousin, promising it would be easy money serving drinks at some private New Year's party in one of the magnificent Mile's most exclusive buildings. What she'd failed to mention was that the host owned half of Chicago's commercial real estate and allegedly had ties to organizations that didn't file tax returns. Stop being so serious. Cassie grabbed 2 champagne flutes from a passing server and pressed one into my hand. The woman who hired us said staff could have 1 drink at midnight, live a little. I took the glass to appease her, letting the bubbles fizz against my palm. Around us, Chicago's wealthy and powerful laughed too loudly. Their designer clothes and expensive watches a stark reminder that I existed in their world only as background noise. A brunette in a dress that cost more than my rent shrieked with laughter, nearly knocking my tray as she stumbled past on heels that could double as weapons. "Careful," I murmured, stepping aside. She didn't acknowledge me. I might as well have been furniture. 5 minutes to midnight," someone shouted, and the crowd surged toward the terrace edge, champagne sloshing, perfume clouding the winter air. I retreated to the shadows near the rooftop entrance, my practical flat silent on the heated stone. This was my preferred position, close enough to refill drinks, far enough to avoid the spectacle of watching people who had everything celebrate getting another year to have more. "You're not joining the festivities?" The voice came from directly behind me, low and textured like smoke over whiskey. I turned, and my breath caught. Not a gasp, just a small hitch that I hoped he didn't notice. He stood in the doorway I'd been guarding, somehow having materialized without a sound. Tall, broad-shouldered beneath a suit that fit like it had been sewn onto his body, with dark hair swept back from a face that was more striking than handsome. Sharp cheekbones, a mouth that looked like it didn't smile often, and eyes so dark they seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. But it wasn't his appearance that made my pulse quicken. It was the way he stood, utterly still, completely present, as if he could wait forever for my answer, and time itself would bend to accommodate him. "I'm working," I said, lifting my tray slightly as evidence. The staff was given permission to celebrate at midnight. He moved closer, and I caught his scent. Cedar and something darker, like the air before a thunderstorm. I should know. It's my party. Heat flooded my cheeks. "Mr. Sala, I didn't realize. I'm sorry. I can get back to Enrico." He reached out, and for a heart-stopping moment, I thought he might touch me. Instead, he took the empty tray from my hands and set it on a nearby table. "And I asked you a question, not for an apology. Why aren't you celebrating?" Honesty tumbled out before I could stop it. "Because changing the date doesn't change anything real. Tomorrow I'll still have $40,000 in debt, a landlord threatening eviction, and a job that pays just enough to make me too proud for welfare, but too poor for stability. Champagne won't fix that." His expression didn't change, but something changed in those dark eyes. Recognition, maybe, or interest. "You don't believe in new beginnings?" "I believe in earning them." I lifted my chin, suddenly defensive, not drinking to them. 2 minutes. The crowd's countdown had begun, their voices growing louder in drunken excitement. Enrico Sala studied me like I was a puzzle he'd decided to solve. Up close, I could see the subtle scar cutting through his left eyebrow. the suggestion of stubble along his jaw despite the late hour. He couldn't be much older than 35, but he carried himself with the authority of someone who'd never had to ask twice for anything. "What's your name?" "Irene." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Irene Volkov." "Russian?" "My grandfather. He came over in the 70s, opened a bakery in Bridgeport. It closed when he died." Why was I telling him this? Something about the way he listened, completely focused, as if nothing else existed in this moment, made words spill out. "1 minute." The crowd pressed closer to the railing, phones raised to capture the fireworks that would arc over Navy Pier. Cassie was somewhere in that mass of sequins and desperation, probably kissing whatever banker she'd been flirting with all night. I should move, should grab my tray, and slip back into invisibility where I belonged. "Stay." Enrico's hand found my elbow, gentle but unmistakably a command. "Please." That last word shouldn't have undone me, but it did. Men like him, men who radiated power like heat from asphalt, didn't say please to women like me. Didn't acknowledge we existed beyond our function. 30 seconds! You should stay exactly where you are, Irene Volkov. His thumb skimmed the inside of my elbow, a touch so light it might have been accidental, except nothing about this man seemed accidental. "Because I'm going to kiss you at midnight, and I'd prefer if you didn't run." The world narrowed to the space between us. "You don't even know me. I know enough." His free hand came up, fingers grazing my jaw with devastating gentleness. "You're brave enough to tell the truth to a room full of liars. You carry grief like a weight you refuse to put down. And you haven't stopped trembling since I touched you." 20, 19, 18. This is insane. But I didn't pull away. Couldn't. "Yes." His smile was brief, transforming his face from severe to devastating. "It is." 10, 9, 8. "I don't kiss strangers," I whispered, even as my body swayed toward his. "Then ask me anything. 7 seconds to stop being strangers." 6, 5. "Why me?" The question burst out. "This roof is full of women in designer dresses who actually belong at your party." His thumb traced my lower lip, and my knees nearly buckled. "Because you're the only one who knows she doesn't." 4, 3. "That's not an answer." 2, 1. "It's the only one I have. Happy New Year, Irene." His mouth found mine as the first firework exploded over the lake, and the world ceased to exist. I'd been kissed before. Fumbling encounters with college boyfriends, a few disappointing dates after my mother died. This was different. Enrico kissed like he did everything else, with absolute certainty and devastating focus. His hand cupped the back of my neck, fingers threading through my hair while his other arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me flush against him. He tasted like whiskey in winter, and when his tongue swept across my lower lip, I opened for him without thought. Around us, people cheered and whooped, kissing their partners, toasting the new year. We were surrounded by witnesses, yet utterly alone. His kiss was patient and demanding all at once, a slow exploration that somehow promised things I didn't have words for. When he finally pulled back, my hands were fisted in his jacket, and my breathing came in short gasps. "Well," his voice had gone rough, "that's one resolution kept. You resolved to kiss the help?" I tried for humor, but it came out shaky. "I resolved to kiss the most interesting woman at my party." His thumb stroked my cheek. "The fact that you were working makes you more interesting, not less." Behind us, someone dropped a glass. The sharp crack of breaking crystal made me jump, and reality came flooding back. I was standing on a rooftop terrace in Enrico Sala's arms, having just been thoroughly kissed by a man whose name appeared in newspaper business sections and, if rumors were true, FBI watch lists. I stepped back. His arms loosened but didn't release me entirely. "I need to get back to work." My voice sounded foreign, breathless. "Thank you for... that was... Irene." He waited until I met his eyes. "Give me your number." "Why would I do that?" "Because you felt what just happened. Because I'm going to take you to dinner tomorrow, and you're going to say yes." The presumption should have annoyed me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. "You're very sure of yourself." "I'm sure of what I want." His fingers trailed down my arm, catching my hand. "And I want to see you again. Without the uniform. Without the crowd." He inched nearer, his breath warm against my ear. "Without you looking for the nearest exit." "I'm not—" "You've been calculating escape routes since I approached you. The service elevator is behind me. The main elevator to my left. The stairwell past the bar." He pulled back just enough to capture my gaze. "You're always looking for the exit, aren't you?" The observation hit too close. I tugged my hand free. "That's a survival skill, not a character flaw." I didn't say it was a flaw. His expression softened. I said I noticed. "There's a difference." "Mr. Sala." A man in a steel gray suit appeared from the crowd, his accent Italian and urgent. "A moment, per favore." Something hardened in Enrico's face. "Not now, Luca. It's about the shipment from—" I said not now. The words were quiet, but they hit like a physical force. Luca paled and retreated immediately. I used the interruption to put more distance between us, grabbing my abandoned tray. "I really need to— dinner, tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Enrico produced a business card from his inner pocket, pressing it into my hand before I could refuse. "My driver will pick you up." "You don't know where I live." The corner of his mouth lifted. "I will by morning." That should have terrified me. Instead, it sent a thrill down my spine that I absolutely refused to examine. That's borderline stalking. That's thoroughness. He stepped aside, finally giving me the exit he'd accurately noted I was seeking. "Wear something comfortable. I'm taking you somewhere you'll actually enjoy." "How do you know what I enjoy?" "I don't. Yet." His gaze held mine. "But I'm going to learn. Happy New Year, Irene Volkov." He disappeared into the crowd before I could respond, leaving me standing alone with a business card that simply read, Enrico Sala, and a phone number. The cardstock heavy and expensive between my fingers. "Oh my God." Cassie appeared, eyes shining bright with champagne-induced excitement and shock. "Did Enrico Sala just kiss you? Like, the Enrico Sala?" I pressed my fingers to my lips, still feeling the ghost of his mouth on mine. "I think so." "You think so?" "Irene, that man owns half the city. He's on the Tribune's most eligible bachelor list every year, and he just kissed you in front of everyone." She grabbed my shoulders. "This is insane. This is amazing. This is—" "A mistake," I finished, slipping his card into my uniform pocket. "It was just a New Year's kiss. It doesn't mean anything." But as I spent the rest of the night refilling champagne glasses and dodging questions from curious staff who'd witnessed the kiss, I couldn't stop touching that card. Couldn't stop replaying the certainty in his voice when he'd said he wanted to see me again. The party wound down around 2 a.m. As Cassie and I headed toward the service elevator, arms loaded with empty bottles for recycling, I cast a glance back at the terrace one last time. Enrico stood at the railing, phone pressed to his ear, his profile sharp against the city lights. Even from a distance, even surrounded by lingering guests, he radiated something that made my breath catch. Power, yes. Danger, certainly. But also loneliness. A bone-deep isolation that paralleled my own. As if perceiving my gaze, he turned. Our eyes met across the crowded space, and even at 50 feet, I felt the impact like a physical touch. He didn't smile. Didn't wave. Just held my gaze for 3 heartbeats before returning to his phone call. "You're going to that dinner, aren't you?" Cassie asked as we stepped into the elevator. I touched the card in my pocket again. "I don't know," but I was already mentally cataloging my closet, trying to figure out what someone wore to dinner with a man who'd kissed them at midnight, and promised to learn what they enjoyed. The elevator descended, carrying me back to my real life. My efficiency apartment with its perpetual radiator clang. The stack of bills on my kitchen counter, the Monday morning shift at the nursing home that started in 6 hours. But in my pocket, that card seemed to burn, a door to something different, something dangerous, something I wanted despite every practical instinct screaming to throw the card away and forget Enrico Sala existed. The champagne and lies taste had been replaced by whiskey and winter, and I had 24 hours to decide if I was brave enough, or foolish enough, to take another sip. I didn't throw the card away. Instead, I spent most of Saturday morning holding it, studying the simple black text as if it might reveal secrets. 3 times, I picked up my phone to call and cancel the dinner I hadn't even confirmed I'd attend. 3 times I set it down again, my mother's voice echoing in my memory. Irina, you think too much about what could go wrong. Sometimes you have to leap. Easy for her to say. She'd leaped into marriage with my father, a jazz musician who'd loved her desperately right up until the day he walked out when I was 6. She'd leaped into entrepreneurship, opening a small bakery that had drained our savings before closing within a year. She'd even leaped into refusing treatment when her cancer came back the 3rd time, convinced that positive thinking and holistic medicine would save her. I'd spent my whole life catching her, then catching myself after she was gone. I didn't leap. I calculated, planned, and survived. So why was I standing in front of my closet at 6:30, wearing the one decent dress I owned, a simple navy blue sheath I'd bought for my mother's funeral, and fighting the urge to both vomit and sing? My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Volkov, this is Marcus. I'm Mr. Sala's driver. I'm downstairs whenever you're ready. My stomach dropped. How did you... Mr. Sala asked me to collect you at 7. Shall I wait? Or would you prefer I return later? Through my apartment's single window, I could see a black town car idling at the curb, its exhaust creating small clouds in the January cold. No going back now. Either I went downstairs and got in that car, or I became the woman who got kissed by Enrico Sala at midnight and was too afraid to see what happened next. I'll be right down. I grabbed my only winter coat, black wool, 3 years old, with a button missing that I'd never gotten around to replacing, and headed out before courage deserted me. Marcus was exactly what I'd expected. 50-something, built like a boxer, with warm eyes that had probably seen things I couldn't imagine. He opened the car door without comment on my coat, or my neighborhood's peeling paint and chain-link fences. Mr. Sala wanted me to tell you that you look beautiful, Marcus said as he pulled into traffic. Heat flooded my cheeks. He hasn't seen me yet. Doesn't matter, he knew you would be. We drove north, leaving my neighborhood's liquor stores and check-cashing places behind for tree-lined streets and brownstones with window boxes. I'd expected Marcus to take me to one of the city's trendy restaurants, the kind I'd walked past but never entered, where a single entree cost more than my grocery budget. Instead, we pulled up to a small Italian place tucked between a bookstore and a wine shop in Lincoln Park. Warm light spilled from its windows, and I could see red-checkered tablecloths through the glass. A sign above the door read, Nonna's. This is not what I expected, I admitted. Marcus smiled. Mr. Sala said you'd appreciate somewhere real. He owns this place. Well, his family does. His grandmother started it in 1962. His grandmother, Anna Maria Sala. She's 94 and still comes in every Sunday to criticize the gravy. Marcus opened my door. He's waiting inside. The restaurant smelled like garlic and tomatoes, warmth and thyme. Only 4 tables were occupied, and I quickly realized the entire place had been cleared for Irene. Enrico rose from a corner table, and my breath caught exactly like it had last night. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal sweater instead of a suit, his hair slightly mussed as if he'd been running his fingers through it. Somehow, he looked even more devastating this way, less untouchable, more real. You came. Relief flickered across his face before he masked it. I wasn't certain you would. Your driver knew my address. That was creepy enough that curiosity won over common sense. His mouth twitched. I'll apologize for the creepiness, but not for ensuring you got here safely. He pulled out my chair. Sit, please. Nonna's been cooking since 4. Your grandmother is cooking, for me? For us. She insisted the moment I told her I was bringing someone special. Special. The word hovered between us as I sat, hyper-aware of his hand briefly touching my shoulder before he took his own seat. I'm not special, I said. You don't know me. I know you walked away from my party without asking for anything. In my world, that makes you exceptional. An older woman emerged from the kitchen carrying a basket of bread that smelled like heaven. Ah, Nonna, this is Irene. Anna Maria Sala was small and round, radiating the kind of fierce energy that made generals nervous. She set down the bread and studied me with dark eyes that missed nothing. "You're too thin," she announced in heavily accented English, "and too pale. When did you last eat a real meal?" "Nonna, I'm asking the girl, not you, Enrico." She fixed me with a look that demanded honesty. "Well?" "Thursday," I admitted. "I had ramen." She made a sound of disgust. "Salt and sadness, that's all that is. Sit, eat. I'll bring you something with substance." She disappeared back into the kitchen before I could respond. Enrico handed me a glass of red wine. "I apologize. She's wonderful," I finished. "She's wonderful." His expression softened. "She is, though most people find her terrifying. I work with elderly patients. I'm immune to terrifying grandmothers." I took a sip of wine, surprised by its smooth richness. "This is really good. Chianti from my uncle's vineyard in Tuscany. Nonna won't serve anything else." He leaned back, studying me with that same intense focus that had unnerved me last night. "You said you're a nurse?" "Certified nursing assistant, at a memory care facility in Pilsen." I broke off a piece of bread, the crust cracking perfectly. "I work with Alzheimer's and dementia patients mostly. It's hard, but..." I shrugged. "They deserve dignity. Someone to remember them even when they can't remember themselves." "That's why you do it, the dignity part?" "My mother had early onset Alzheimer's before the cancer. I watched her disappear piece by piece, and the only comfort was knowing her nurses treated her like she mattered. The words came easier than they should have. So yes, the dignity part." Enrico was quiet for a moment. Then, "I'm sorry about your mother." "Thank you." I met his eyes. "But you didn't bring me here to talk about my tragic backstory. Why am I here, Enrico?" "Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since you told me that champagne doesn't fix problems." He refilled my wine glass. "Because you're the first person in 5 years to look at me like I'm a man, not an opportunity or a threat. And because when I kissed you at midnight, something I haven't felt in a very long time woke up." "What's that?" "Hope." He said it simply, without drama. "Hope that someone could see me clearly and not run. I don't know what I see." Honesty compelled me. "I see a man who kissed me at his party, who knew where I lived by morning, who cleared an entire restaurant just to have dinner with me. I see power and mystery and..." I motioned indistinctly. "The rumors say you're connected to the kind of people who don't file taxes." "The rumors are right." No hesitation. "My family has been part of Chicago's organization for 4 generations. I took over when my father died 8 years ago. We have legitimate businesses. Real estate, restaurants, construction. But we also have other interests. Things I won't lie to you about, but also won't detail unless you explicitly ask." The honesty should have sent me running. Instead, it steadied something inside me. "Why tell me?" "Because I don't want you later claiming you didn't know who I was. What I am." He reached across the table, fingers finding mine. "Because if this goes anywhere, you deserve to choose with open eyes." "If what goes anywhere?" "This." His thumb stroked my knuckles. "You and me, whatever this is." Nonna returned with 2 plates of pasta that smelled like childhood and safety, and everything warm. "Bucatini alla matriciana. Eat before it gets cold." For the next hour, we ate and talked about everything and nothing. He asked about my favorite books, and I admitted to a secret obsession with Agatha Christie. I asked about his work, and he described the headache of managing construction permits in Chicago without admitting to bribing anyone, though we both knew he probably had. He was funny, in a dry, understated way, and when he smiled, really smiled, not the brief flash from last night, it transformed his entire face. "You don't smile enough," I said before I could stop myself. "I don't have much reason to. That's sad. That's life." He pushed his empty plate aside. "My world isn't conducive to happiness, Irene. It's about control, loyalty, and survival. Smiling is a luxury." "Then why are you smiling now?" "Because you're here. Simple, direct, devastating." Nonna brought out tiramisu and espresso, and by the time we finished, it was past 10. The restaurant had emptied completely, leaving just us and the muted sounds of dishes clinking in the kitchen. "Walk with me?" Enrico offered his hand. Outside, Chicago's January cold bit through my coat. Without asking, Enrico shrugged out of his leather jacket and draped it over my shoulders. It swallowed me, smelling like cedar in him. "You'll freeze," I protested. "I've survived worse than cold." He guided me down the sidewalk, his hand settling at the small of my back. "Besides, I like seeing you in my jacket." We walked in comfortable silence, the city quiet around us. A light snow had begun to fall, dusting the sidewalks and nestling in my hair. "Why did you really kiss me last night?" I asked. The truth this time. He stopped under a street lamp, snow swirling around us. "Because I've spent the last 8 years building walls, and in 30 seconds of conversation, you made me want to tear them down. Because you looked at me like I was a problem to solve, not a prize to win, and because..." He cupped my face in his hands, and I realized they were freezing. "Because I'm tired of being alone, and you looked exactly as lonely as I felt. I am lonely." The admission hurt. I'm 28, drowning in debt, working a job that barely pays rent. I lost my mother 2 years ago, and she was all I had. Most days I'm just surviving, not living, just surviving. Then let me change that. His forehead touched mine. "Let me take you to dinner again. Let me learn what makes you laugh. Let me see if we can be lonely together instead of alone. I don't know anything about your world." "Good. I don't want someone from my world. I want you." The kiss was softer this time, gentler, as if he was giving me room to pull away. I didn't. Instead, I rose on my toes and kissed him back, my hands fisting in his sweater for balance. Snow melted on our faces, and the city disappeared, and for just a moment, I let myself believe that a man like Enrico Sala could want someone like me for more than a night. When we pulled apart, he smiled, that real smile that transformed him. "I'll take that as a yes to dinner number 2. Presumptuous. Hopeful." He kissed my forehead. "Come on, Marcus is freezing in the car." The drive back to my apartment was quiet, my hand held securely in his. At my building, he walked me to the door despite my protests. "This isn't a good neighborhood for you," I warned. "Someone might recognize..." "Let them." He backed me gently against the door. "One more kiss, for luck." This kiss was different, harder, more possessive, a promise and a claim all at once. When he finally released me, my knees shook. "Dinner tomorrow?" His voice had gone rough. "My place. I'll cook." "You cook?" Nona insisted all her grandchildren learn. Say yes. Yes. His smile could have powered the city. "Text me your schedule. I'll work around it." He waited until I was inside before walking back to the car, and I watched from my window as it pulled away. My lips tingled, my body hummed, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt something other than grief and exhaustion. I felt alive. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Sleep well, beautiful. Tomorrow can't come fast enough." I fell asleep holding my phone, a smile on my face and hope blooming dangerously in my chest. Tomorrow came, and then the next day, and the next. Dinners became standing dates. Enrico actually cooked, refusing to let me help while he moved around his penthouse kitchen with surprising grace. We talked until early morning, about everything from philosophy to favorite childhood memories. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers, his focus entirely on me in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. He never pushed for more than kissing, though the tension between us built with each touch, each heated look. It was as if he was waiting for something, permission, maybe, or certainty that I wouldn't run. 3 weeks in, he took me to the Art Institute after hours, the entire museum empty except for us and a security guard who called him boss. We stood in front of Surat's a Sunday afternoon, and he told me about his mother, who'd loved Impressionism and died when he was 12. "She used to bring me here every Sunday," he said, his hand finding mine. "She'd make up stories about the people in the paintings, give them lives and dreams and futures. You miss her. Every day." He pulled me closer. "She would have liked you. She always said I needed someone who'd challenge me instead of just agreeing with everything I said. I definitely do that. You do. He kissed my temple. It's one of my favorite things about you. 4 weeks in, I met more of his family. Cousins, uncles, associates whose exact roles I didn't ask about. They treated me with warmth and respect, though I caught the speculative looks when they thought I wasn't watching. Enrico Sala didn't bring women to family dinners. Whatever this was, it meant something. It should have scared me more than it did. 5 weeks in, reality intruded. I was leaving my shift at the nursing home when I saw him, my ex-boyfriend Tyler, leaning against a familiar beat-up Honda Civic I'd once spent too many hours in. We'd dated for 9 months 2 years ago, right before my mother died. He'd promised to support me through her illness, then disappeared the moment it became real work instead of abstract sympathy. Irene. He pushed off the car, hands shoved in his jacket pockets. Been a while. Not long enough. I tried to walk past him, but he stepped into my path. Come on, don't be like that. I've been thinking about you. Thought maybe we could grab coffee, talk about old times. We don't have old times. We have 9 months where you pretended to care and then proved you didn't. His expression hardened. That's not fair. Your mom's illness was hard on everyone. It was hard on me. You just couldn't handle dating someone whose life wasn't Instagram perfect. I moved around him. Goodbye, Tyler. I heard you've been spending time with Enrico Sala. The words stopped me cold. That true? You dating a mobster now? I turned slowly. Who I spend time with is none of your business. Just seems funny, that's all. 2 months ago, you were barely making rent. Now you're riding around in town cars with one of Chicago's most connected guys. His smile was ugly. What did you do, Irene? What did you have to do to catch his attention? The implication hit like a slap. You need to leave, now. I'm just saying, a girl like you doesn't usually run in those circles. Makes a guy wonder what's really going on. Tyler, does he know you're using him? That you're probably just looking for someone to pay off those student loans you were always crying about? Rage flooded through me, white-hot and purifying. You have 3 seconds to walk away before I make you regret this conversation. He laughed. You? Make me regret something? Come on, Irene. You're a CNA making $15 an hour. You're not exactly threatening. But I am. Enrico's voice came from behind me, and Tyler went pale. I spun. Enrico stood 10 feet away, Marcus and another man I didn't recognize flanking him. All 3 wore expressions that could have frozen fire. Mr. Sala. Tyler's voice climbed an octave. We were just having a conversation about what Irene had to do to catch my attention. Enrico moved forward with lethal grace. I heard, so let me clarify. Irene caught my attention by being intelligent, honest, and kind. 3 qualities you clearly lack. He stepped between me and Tyler, a wall of controlled fury. And if I ever hear you speaking to her again, about her again, in any context, you'll learn exactly why people fear my name. Are we clear? Tyler nodded so hard I thought his neck might snap. Good, leave. He practically ran to his car, tires squealing as he peeled out of the parking lot. I released a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Enrico turned to me, his phrase softening. Are you all right? I'm fine, he's just... I shook my head. An ex who couldn't handle reality. Not important. He made implications about your character. That's important. His hand cupped my cheek. And wrong. So incredibly wrong. How did you know I was here? Marcus drives past your work when your shift ends. Make sure you get to your car safely. He must have seen my expression because he added quickly. Not surveillance. Protection. This neighborhood isn't safe after dark. I should have been angry about the invasion of privacy. Instead, a comforting heat radiated through my chest. You've been having Marcus watch over me? For 3 weeks. No apology in his tone. I know you can take care of yourself, but letting you do it alone when I have resources to keep you safe felt wrong. Enrico, come home with me tonight. The request was sudden, intense. Unless you want to, but that's not why I'm asking. I just don't want you alone right now. Come home with me. Let me cook dinner. Let me prove that you're not what he said. I know I'm not what he said. Then let me prove that I know it too. I looked into his eyes, dark, serious, wanting, and made another leap. Okay, yes. His exhale was relief incarnate. Thank you. Marcus drove us to Enrico's penthouse, where he made carbonara while I sat on the counter and told him more about Tyler, about my mother's illness, about the months of grief that had swallowed me whole. He called me during her memorial service, I heard myself saying. Broke up with me via voicemail because he couldn't handle my emotional needs right now. I was scattering her ashes and he was protecting his emotional bandwidth. Enrico's jaw tightened, but his hand stayed gentle as he plated pasta. Some men aren't strong enough to love someone through pain. That's their failure, not yours. And you? The question emerged before I could stop it. Are you strong enough? He set down the plates and moved to stand between my knees, his hands settling on my hips. I've spent 8 years in a world where showing weakness gets you killed, where trust is currency and love is a liability. I learned to be strong because anything else meant ending up like my father, betrayed by someone he trusted, shot in the head and left in an alley. My breath caught. Enrico, but with you? His forehead touched mine. With you, I want to be weak. I want to tell you when things are hard. I want to lean on someone instead of holding everything myself. And that terrifies me because I don't know how to be that person. But I want to learn. For you, I want to learn. I kissed him then, deep and desperate, and he responded instantly. His hands tightened on my hips, pulling me closer, and I wrapped my legs around his waist. The kiss turned hungry, urgent, months of tension finally finding release. Irene. My name was a groan against my lips. Tell me to stop. Don't stop. I pulled him closer. Don't you dare stop. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He carried me to his bedroom, a massive space done in shades of gray and navy, floor-to-ceiling windows revealing Chicago's glittering skyline. The bed was enormous, the sheets navy blue and clearly expensive. But when he laid me down, there was nothing cold or transactional about it. He touched me like I was precious, kissing every inch of skin he revealed, whispering Italian I didn't understand, but felt in my bones. We made love slowly, carefully, his eyes never leaving mine. And when I shattered in his arms, he held me through it. His own release following moments later with my name on his lips like a prayer. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with my head on his chest, I traced the scars I'd discovered. A bullet wound near his shoulder, knife marks along his ribs, a burn on his abdomen. War wounds, he said quietly, reminders that my world is dangerous. Are you trying to scare me away? I'm trying to be honest. His fingers combed through my hair. Because I'm falling for you, Irene. And I need you to know what that means. Being with me comes with risks. People who'd hurt you to get to me. Choices I make that you might not agree with. A life that's never completely safe or normal. I don't need normal. I kissed the scar near his collarbone. I need real. And this, us. This feels more real than anything I've ever had. His arms tightened around me. Then stay. Not just tonight. Stay with me. Move in. Let me take care of you the way you take care of everyone else. That's fast. I'm 36. I've dated enough to know when something is different. You're different. This is different. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. I want you here when I wake up. I want to come home to you. I want... He stopped, seeming to wrestle with words. I want a life that's more than just survival. With you, I see that possibility. I should have said no. Should have insisted on taking things slower, on maintaining independence, on protecting myself. Instead, I said, okay, yes, I'll stay. His kiss was answer, promise, and beginning all at once. I moved into his penthouse that weekend, my few belongings looking absurd in his massive space. But Enrico treated each item with reverence. My mother's cookbook, my nursing textbooks, the worn mug I'd had since college. He made room, not just in his home, but in his life, clearing drawers and closet space, adding my name to his building's security list, and introducing me to his doorman as someone important. The next 2 months were a dream, waking up in his arms, cooking breakfast together before my shifts, coming home to him, waiting with dinner and conversation. He attended my nursing home's charity fundraiser and donated an amount that made my supervisor cry with gratitude. I met more of his family, including his formidable uncle Salvatore, who studied me like a specimen before announcing I had good bones and strong blood, whatever that meant. But underneath the happiness, I bore the heaviness of his world. The phone calls he took in Italian, stepping out of the room with tension in his shoulders. The nights he came home late with violence in his eyes that he'd try to hide before kissing me. The associates who'd visit and go silent when I entered the room. "I don't need to know details," I told him one night after an especially tense week, "but I need to know you're safe." "I'm always safe." He pulled me into his lap. "I have too much to live for now." "Enrico, I love you." The words were quiet, fierce. "I know it's only been 3 months. I know this is fast. But I love you, Irene. And that means I'll do whatever it takes to keep coming home to you." Tears burned my eyes. "I love you too. So much it scares me." "Good." He kissed me softly. "Fear means you understand what's at stake. But don't let it paralyze you. Trust me to protect us both." I did trust him. That was the terrifying part. March arrived with a late winter storm and an unexpected development. I was pregnant. I stared at the test in my bathroom, Enrico's bathroom, our bathroom, as panic and joy warred in my chest. We'd been careful, mostly, but clearly not careful enough. Or maybe just not as careful as we'd convinced ourselves we were being. I was 28, working a job that barely paid enough to support myself, in a relationship that was simultaneously the most stable and most dangerous thing in my life. I was in no position to have a baby, but the thought of not having it, of not having this piece of Enrico and me combined, was unthinkable. "Irene?" Enrico's voice came through the door. "You've been in there for 20 minutes. Are you all right?" I opened the door, test in hand, unable to form words. He stared at the 2 pink lines, then at me, then back at the test. "You're pregnant," my voice cracked. "I'm pregnant." The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. 4, 5. Then he dropped to his knees in front of me, his hands framing my still flat stomach, and looked up with eyes full of wonder and fear and hope. "We're having a baby." Not a question. A fact. A truth. "We're having a baby. Is this—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "Am I happy?" He stood, pulling me into his arms. "Irene, I'm terrified. I'm unprepared. I have no idea how to be a father. But yes, God, yes, I'm happy." He kissed me, deep and thorough. "We're having a baby." The relief nearly dropped me. "I thought you might— I didn't know if you'd— Want this? Want you? Want us?" He cupped my face. "I want everything with you. Every messy, scary, beautiful piece of it." His hand returned to my stomach. "Including this. Especially this." We told his family that weekend at Sunday dinner at Nonna's. She cried, blessing me in Italian, and immediately launching into plans for a nursery. His uncle Salvatore looked satisfied, as if I'd passed some test I didn't know I was taking. His cousins toasted with Prosecco I couldn't drink, their acceptance warm and genuine. For the first time since my mother died, I felt like I belonged somewhere. Like I had family again. I should have known it couldn't last. April brought spring and complications. Someone, an associate of Salvatore's, Enrico explained carefully, had betrayed the family, costing them a shipment, and nearly getting Enrico killed in a warehouse ambush. He came home at 3 a.m. with blood on his shirt, not his, he assured me, and murder in his eyes. I cleaned the wound on his arm while he made phone calls in Italian, his voice expressionless and cold in a way that reminded me exactly who he was, what he was capable of. "This isn't safe," I said when he finally hung up. "Your world, our baby. We'll be protected." Steel in his voice. "I swear to you, Irene, nothing will touch you or our child." "You can't promise that. Watch me." He pulled me against him. "I've already increased security. Marcus will drive you to and from work. We're putting cameras throughout the building. and anyone who even looks at you wrong will regret it. Enrico, this is non-negotiable. Absolute certainty. You're carrying my child. That makes you the most important person in my world and the biggest target to anyone who wants to hurt me. So security isn't optional. It's mandatory. I wanted to argue, but the fear in his eyes, raw, genuine fear, stopped me. Okay, I whispered. Okay. He held me that night as I might disappear, and I felt the first real crack in our perfect bubble. May arrived with warmth and morning sickness, leaving me exhausted. Enrico handled it with patience I didn't expect, holding my hair back, keeping ginger ale and crackers stocked, calling out of meetings to sit with me on the bathroom floor when it got particularly bad. I'm sorry, I gasped after a particularly rough morning. This is disgusting. This is you carrying our child. He wiped my face with a cool cloth. Nothing about that could be disgusting. But the sweetness of those moments was undercut by growing tension. Enrico worked longer hours, came home later, his phone constantly ringing with problems that made his jaw tight and his eyes hard. When I asked what was happening, he'd kiss my forehead and say, "Business, nothing you need to worry about. You." The dismissal stung, but I understood. He was protecting me the only way he knew how, by keeping me separate from his darker world. The final crack came in late May, at a charity gala I'd reluctantly agreed to attend. I was 12 weeks pregnant, finally past the first trimester danger zone, and Enrico had insisted I needed to be seen at his side. "Show everyone you're mine," he'd said, "that you're protected." I wore an emerald dress that hid my small bump, feeling out of place among Chicago's elite in their diamonds and designer labels. Enrico kept me close, his hand possessive at my waist, introducing me to business associates and family friends. That's when I saw him, Tyler of all people, standing across the room in a suit I knew he couldn't afford, talking to a man I recognized from newspapers, a rival family's underboss. "Enrico." I gripped his arm. "My ex is here. Tyler, he's talking to..." "DeLuca's man." His voice went cold. "Stay here." "What? No, Enrico..." But he was already moving, Marcus and 2 other men flanking him. I watched them approach Tyler, watched my ex go pale, watched the rapid conversation I couldn't hear over the ballroom's music. Then Tyler turned, his eyes finding me across the room, and smiled. He started walking toward me with DeLuca's associate, and my heart beat wildly pressed into my ribs. Something was wrong. Very wrong. They stopped 3 feet away. Tyler's smile widened. "Irene, you look... different. Glowing, even." His eyes dropped to my stomach, and I instinctively pressed a hand there, protective. "Oh my God, are you pregnant?" "That's none of your business." I looked past him to where Enrico was threading through the crowd, his expression murderous. "You need to leave." "I just think it's interesting, that's all. Last time we talked, you were barely making rent. Now you're knocked up by Chicago's most notorious crime boss, wearing designer dresses, living in a penthouse." He stepped closer, his voice carrying. "Guess you found your meal ticket after all." "You need to walk away," I said quietly. "Right now." "Or what? Your boyfriend will make me?" "I'm under DeLuca protection now, Irene. Sela can't touch me without starting a war." His eyes glittered with malice. "So let me say what I came to say. Everyone here knows exactly what you are. A gold digger who spread her legs for the richest man she could find and got pregnant to lock him down. You... Finish that sentence and you'll regret it." Enrico's voice was death itself. He stood behind Tyler, every line of his body radiating violence. Around us, the ballroom had gone silent, everyone watching. Tyler spun, fear and bravado warring on his face. "I'm just stating facts. She got pregnant awful quick for someone who I love." Enrico moved past Tyler, his hand finding mine, pulling me protectively against his side. "Who's carrying my child? Who is under my protection in every way that matters?" His free hand settled over mine on my small bump, a gesture both intimate and possessive. "And if you ever speak about her again, protection from DeLuca won't save you. Do you understand?" Tyler's smile turned ugly. He looked at my stomach again, then at Enrico. Your kid? Really? How can you even be sure it's—" He never finished the sentence. Enrico moved with terrifying speed, his hand locking around Tyler's throat, backing him up until he hit a pillar. The entire ballroom gasped. "That's my son." Enrico's voice was just over a whisper, but it carried. "Mine. And anyone who suggests otherwise will find out exactly how far I'll go to protect what's mine." "Enrico," I touched his shoulder. "He's not worth it. He disrespected you, disrespected our child." His grip tightened fractionally. "That's worth everything. Starting a war over him isn't." I moved closer, my hand covering his. "Please, for me, let him go." The muscles in his jaw worked. Then slowly, he released Tyler, who collapsed against the pillar, gasping. Enrico turned to me, cupping my face in his hands, his back to Tyler and everyone else. "You're right. He's nothing. You and our baby. You're everything." He raised his voice, addressing the room. "Let me be clear for everyone here. Irene Volkov is the mother of my child. She is under my complete protection. Anyone who harms her, threatens her, or even speaks disrespectfully about her will answer to me personally. Spread the word." Then he kissed me, deep, possessive, claiming, in front of Chicago's most powerful families. When he pulled back, his gaze held mine. "I love you, and I claim what's mine." Applause broke out around us, genuine, I thought, though maybe just relief that violence had been avoided. Tyler had disappeared, and Enrico's hand stayed protectively over my stomach as we made our way out of the gala. In the car, I finally let myself shake. "I'm sorry." Enrico pulled me into his lap. I shouldn't have lost control, but hearing him suggest that our baby wasn't mine, his jaw clenched. I saw red. "You claimed us." My voice was small. "In front of everyone." "I did. No apology. Because you are mine, Irene. You and our son. And I need every family in Chicago to know that touching you means war." "You said son." I touched his face. "How do you know?" His smile was brief but genuine. "I don't. But I hope. A son with your heart and my stubbornness. A child we can raise better than we were raised. A family." He pressed his forehead to mine. "I love you. More than I knew I could love anyone. And I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. I love you too." I kissed him softly. "Even when you're terrifying. Especially when I'm terrifying." His hand splayed across my stomach. "Because that's when I'm protecting you both." We drove home through Chicago's spring night, and I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we could make this work. That love could bridge the gap between his world and mine. That our child could grow up safe despite everything. I was wrong about the safety part, but I was right about the love. That would prove to be enough. June arrived with heat and unexpected complications. I was folding laundry on a Saturday afternoon when the cramping started. Sharp, low, wrong. By the time Enrico got me to the hospital, I was sobbing with pain and fear. "The baby," I kept saying. "Please, the baby." "Is fine." The ER doctor was calm and efficient. "But you're having contractions. We're going to stop them. But you need to be on bed rest for the foreseeable future. Your pregnancy is high risk now." High risk. Bed rest. The words hit like bullets. Enrico's hand squeezed mine as the doctor explained complications, medications, and monitoring. When we finally made it home, he carried me to bed despite my protests and proceeded to rearrange our entire life around keeping me horizontal. "I'm calling your supervisor at the nursing home," he said, already dialing. "You're taking leave." "Enrico, I can't just quit." "Not quitting. Leave. Paid leave." His tone brooked no argument. "I've already spoken to the facility administrator. They're happy to accommodate." "You spoke to my—" I struggled to sit up, and he gently pushed me back down. "You can't just make decisions about my job." "I can when your job is putting you and our baby at risk." His expression softened. "Irene, please. Let me do this. Let me take care of you." I wanted to argue, but exhaustion and fear won out. "Okay, but this is temporary." "Of course." He kissed my forehead. Temporary. Bed rest was its own special hell. I'd spent my life taking care of others. Being the one who needed care felt wrong, suffocating. Enrico hired a nurse to check on me during the day when he was at work, stocked the bedroom with books and my laptop, and even moved a television in when I admitted to binging reality shows out of sheer boredom. "I feel useless," I told him one night as he brought dinner on a tray. "You're growing our child. That's not useless." He settled beside me, feeding me pasta like I was incapable of holding a fork. "And even if you weren't pregnant, you could never be useless to me. You're everything." Sweet talker. Truth teller. He kissed me gently. "I know this is hard, but it's temporary. And at the end, we get our son. Or daughter." His smile was soft. "Or daughter, who'll be as stubborn as her mother and twice as beautiful." The weeks crawled by. July arrived with oppressive heat, and a baby who liked to kick my ribs. My 20-week ultrasound revealed we were having a boy, Enrico's prediction confirmed, and he promptly commissioned a nursery that looked like something from a magazine spread. "This is too much," I protested from my enforced position in bed as he showed me photos of hand-carved furniture from Italy. "Nothing is too much for him, for you." He settled beside me, his hand finding my now prominent bump. "I want our son to have everything, especially everything I didn't." "What didn't you have?" His expression grew distant. "Safety, stability, a father who came home at night." He looked at me. "I want to be better than my father was, but I don't know how to do that, and still be who I am." "You be exactly who you are." I covered his hand with mine. "A man who's ruthless when he needs to be, and gentle when it matters. A man who protects his family above everything else. That's who our son needs." "You have too much faith in me." "I have exactly the right amount." I pulled him down for a kiss. "And stop being melodramatic. You're going to be an amazing father." He wanted to believe me. I could see it in his eyes. August brought a different complication. His family. Nona appeared at our door with enough food to feed an army and a determination to prepare the girl for motherhood. For 2 weeks, she essentially moved in, teaching me family recipes, telling me stories about Enrico as a child, and offering advice that ranged from brilliant to bizarre. "You need to eat more," she insisted, ladling soup into a bowl. "The baby needs to be strong." "I'm eating constantly. I feel like a whale." "Whales are magnificent creatures, powerful, beautiful." She settled beside me. "And you're carrying the next Sala heir. That makes you royalty in this family." "I'm not royalty. I'm a nursing assistant who got pregnant." Her hand covered mine. "You're the woman my grandson loves. The woman who made him remember how to smile. That makes you more valuable than any title." She inched nearer. "But between you and me, the pregnancy helped. This family needs new blood, fresh perspective. You're good for us." It should have felt like pressure. Instead, it felt like acceptance. Uncle Salvatore visited too, bringing his wife, Rosa, and their 3 children. While the kids played in the living room, Salvatore studied me with those assessing eyes. "My nephew is different with you," he said finally. "Softer. That could be seen as weakness in our world." "Should I apologize for that?" I met his gaze directly. His smile was brief. "No, because that softness only shows around you. With everyone else, he's harder than before. More focused. More dangerous." He leaned forward. "Love doesn't make a man weak, girl. It makes him lethal. Because now he has something to protect." "I don't want him to be lethal. I want him to be safe. In our world, those are the same thing." He stood. "Take care of him and that baby. You're family now." After they left, I cried. Hormones and overwhelm and the strange relief of belonging. September arrived with cooler temperatures and an unexpected gift. Enrico took a week off work, the first time since I'd met him. "A week?" I couldn't hide my shock. "You're taking a whole week off?" "To be with you before the baby comes." He settled onto the bed, pulling me against his side. "To prove that you're more important than business." We spent the week talking, reading baby books together, and arguing good-naturedly about names. He wanted Alessandro. I wanted something less traditional. We compromised on Alexander, allowing him to be called Xander for short. Alexander Sala, Enrico said, testing it out. It's strong, classical. It's perfect, I kissed him. Just like his father. His father is far from perfect. His father is perfect for me. I took his hand and placed it where our son was currently practicing kickboxing, pressed to my ribs. Feel that? He's strong. Wonder colored his voice. Just like his mother. We're going to be okay, aren't we? The question surprised me. Despite everything, your world, my fears, all the complications, we're going to figure this out. We're going to more than figure it out. He shifted so we were face to face. We're going to build something incredible. A family. A life. A life where our son knows he's loved every single day. Promise? Promise. He kissed me softly. You, me, and Alexander against the world. It sounded like a vow. I chose to believe it was one he could keep. October brought my 34th week checkup and cleared me for limited activity. After months of bed rest, I felt like I'd been released from prison. Slowly, Enrico cautioned as I made my way around the penthouse, relearning how to exist vertically. The doctor said limited activity. Walking from the bedroom to the living room is limited activity. But I let him hover, secretly enjoying his concern. We ventured out for the first time in months, just a walk around the block, but it felt like freedom. The city had transformed during my bed rest. Fall had arrived with its splash of colors and cool air that felt like a blessing after summer's heat. I missed this, I admitted, my hand in his, just being outside, being normal. We'll do this every day now. He pulled me closer. I want you to remember what it feels like to be more than just a vessel for our child. I never felt like just a vessel with you. Good. He stopped, turning me to face him. Because you're not. You're Irene, the woman who challenges me, who loves me despite knowing what I am, who's about to make me a father. He kissed me there on the sidewalk, Chicago bustling around us. You're everything. I was crying when he pulled back. Hormones. Love. He wiped my tears. Come on, let's get you home before you catch cold. Home. His penthouse had become our home. The place where we'd bring our son. The place where we'd build our impossible life. I let myself believe it would be enough. November arrived with the first snow and contractions that sent us racing to the hospital at 2 a.m. It's too early, I gasped as Enrico practically carried me to the car. He's only 36 weeks. That's full term enough. He was calm and controlled, but I felt the tremor in his hands. You're going to be fine. He's going to be fine. I've got you. Labor was 23 hours of pain and fear and exhaustion. Enrico never left my side, letting me crush his hand, wiping sweat from my forehead, whispering encouragement in English and Italian. You're so strong, he kept saying. So perfect. You can do this. I can't. It hurts. You can. You are. Breathe with me. That's it. Perfect. At 3:47 p.m. on November 2nd, Alexander Enrico Sala entered the world screaming his displeasure at being evicted from his warm home. He's perfect, the doctor said, placing him on my chest. Congratulations. I looked down at my son, red-faced, furious, absolutely beautiful, and felt my heart expand in ways I didn't know were possible. Hi, baby, I whispered. We've been waiting for you. Enrico was crying. I looked up to see tears streaming down his face as he stared at our son. Enrico? He's real. His voice cracked. He's here and he's real and he's ours. He's ours. I reached for him. Come meet your son. He approached like Alexander might shatter, his hand shaking as he touched our baby's tiny fingers. Hello, Alexander. I'm your papa. And I promise. I swear on everything I am. I'll protect you. Always. Alexander yawned, unimpressed by the declaration, and we both laughed through tears. The nurse took him for measurements, and Enrico kissed me, soft, reverent, full of emotion. You're incredible, he said. You just gave me everything. We gave each other everything. I touched his face. Now we just have to keep him alive. That I can do. Confidence returned to his voice. Keeping people alive is my specialty. We brought Alexander home 3 days later to a penthouse that had been transformed into a fortress of baby-proofing. Security had been doubled, and Enrico had hired a night nurse over my protests. Just for the first month, he'd insisted, so you can rest. But I couldn't rest. I spent hours watching Alexander sleep, marveling at his tiny perfections. Enrico's nose, my mouth, a temperament that seemed determined to keep us on our toes. He's going to be trouble, Enrico said one night, as we took turns walking a crying Alexander around the nursery. I can tell already. He's your son, of course he's trouble. Our son. He took Alexander from me, somehow immediately calming him. And he's perfect. Watching Enrico with our son broke and healed something inside me at the same time. He was gentle, patient, and attentive in ways I'd never seen. The ruthless Mafia boss disappeared, replaced by a man who sang Italian lullabies at 3 a.m. and changed diapers without complaint. December arrived with holidays and an unexpected visitor. I was nursing Alexander in the living room when the doorman called up. Miss Volkov, there's a Cassie Thompson here to see you. Cassie, my best friend, whom I hadn't seen since that New Year's party where this all started. Send her up. She arrived with apologies and excitement in equal measure. I'm the worst friend ever, I know. I've been crazy with work and, oh my God, is that your baby? This is Alexander. I adjusted him so she could see his face. He's 3 weeks old. He's beautiful. She settled beside me, her eyes welling. Irene, I'm so sorry. I should have been here. I should have... You're here now. I squeezed her hand. That's what matters. We spent the afternoon catching up. I told her edited versions of the past year. Meeting Enrico, falling in love, the pregnancy, and Alexander's birth. She told me about her promotion, her new apartment, and the guy she was dating, who might finally be decent. You seem happy, she said eventually. Really, genuinely happy. I am. The realization surprised me. Despite everything being complicated and scary and not at all what I planned, I'm happy. Good. You deserve it. She looked around the penthouse. This is all so surreal, you know? Last year you were barely making rent, and now you're living in a penthouse with Chicago's most eligible bachelor and a baby. Formerly eligible, Enrico's voice came from the doorway. Hello, Cassie. Mr. Sala. She jumped up. I didn't realize you were home. I live here. He moved to where I sat, kissing my forehead before reaching for Alexander. And you can call me Enrico. Any friend of Irene's is family. I watched him with our son, then looked at Cassie's stunned expression and felt that same swell of impossible happiness. This was my life now. Complicated, dangerous, unorthodox. Perfect. The new year arrived quietly. Just Enrico, Alexander, and me in our penthouse, watching fireworks over the lake. Last year at this time I was kissing you at my party, Enrico said, Alexander asleep against his shoulder. I had no idea you'd change everything. I could say the same. I leaned against him. One kiss and my entire world transformed. Regrets? Not one. I looked at our sleeping son, at the man who'd somehow become my everything. You? Just that I didn't meet you sooner. He kissed me as fireworks exploded outside. Happy New Year, amore. Happy New Year, I whispered back. Below us, Chicago celebrated new beginnings. Inside, we held tight to the beginning we'd already built. Messy and complicated and more beautiful than I'd ever imagined possible. The new year began with a kiss, just like the last one, but this time I wasn't alone. This time I had everything.